Hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for waiting. We're about to get started with Beyond the Pixels, mainstream NFT adoption and its global impact. Today we have Jack O'Halloran, Adam Jackson, and Francisco Uribe, Johanna Powell. Please enjoy the show.
All right, let's kick it off. Thanks for being here today. So, my name is Jack O'Halloran. I'm the CEO and co-founder of SKALE Labs. We're the core team behind the SKALE network. SKALE is what I like to call a user experience optimized blockchain. So our goal is to help applications run fast and in a way that normal people can use them. Okay, so the goal for blockchain and Web3 is to get to a point where we have hundreds of millions or billions of users, not tens of thousands of power users. So that's what we're doing at SKALE. Happy to talk to you about it later, but we are here today to talk about NFTs, okay? We all know NFTs are good for two things, and that's creating animal-esque collectibles and speculating on those. No, so we're debunking that myth today. This is such an early time in the scope of NFTs. We're even going to talk about, like, will these be called NFTs later, right? There's so many use cases, and these use cases, one, are pretty phenomenal in gaming and collectible sets. I don't mean to discredit what happens in the current NFT space, but it's really just a fraction of what is here to come. So we have some experts here today that are going to be talking about this, people that are doing cool things and seeing cool things across the industry. So let's start here with some introductions.
Great. Hey, everybody. I'm Adam Jackson, co-founder of Braintrust. Braintrust is a decentralized talent network built on Ethereum. We connect knowledge workers with clients that need their services, either on a contract or full-time basis. All the jobs are done in fiat, but we have a native token that's used to incentivize referring new talent, screening new talent, bringing new clients on, et cetera. All the things like a company would have hired people for are done by the community. And it's a governance and control token. You might be thinking, like, why the hell are you on an NFT panel? So we started building Braintrust 3 years ago, and we had to build most of it off-chain because Ethereum is unworkable for most use cases, and SKALE didn't exist yet. And so we built sort of this large application and database off-chain, and then realized, like, you know, it's about 72,000 talent members now. It's growing really quickly. We're like, these people should have their work history, their verified skills, their verified activity on the network stamped into the blockchain and like in an NFT that they can use as their username password for Braintrust and lots of other professional services. So we're in the process of migrating. It's going to be a long migration from our off-chain database over to NFTs.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. My name is Francisco, and I'm the co-founder of Uno. And Uno is a Web3 nutrition app. We're using computer vision and crypto rewards to make it very easy for people to lose weight and eat healthy. As an intro to myself, spent most of my career in Web2. So I started as an AI researcher, and I spent the lion's share of my career. Oh, it's working better? All right. Can you guys hear me okay? Okay, cool.
Great.
And I spent the lion's share of my career at Google, where I led a team working on computer vision and as part of Google Cloud and Google Brain. The genesis of Uno can be traced back where after the pandemic, I was thinking about different ways of optimizing my health. You know, I let myself go a bit, and then I started trying different apps like Noom, like MyFitnessPal, to log the meals I was eating and count my calories. And overall, the experience was successful, but by far the most painful part of that experience was actually logging the meals you're eating, right? And it's very onerous, right? So you have to like annotate every single meal manually, like from a very small database, and then annotate the ingredients and the individual proportions. So overall, it was so painful that, of course, I didn't end up doing it, and that dramatically improved the quality of the coaching and advice I was getting from my nutritionist. And this is a common phenomenon of nutrition apps, is that because you're not able to log the meals, then at the end of the day, the advice you get from nutritionists is very weak. So that's the problem that we set out to solve with Uno, right, where we make it straightforward, very easy to log meals, you simply snap a photo of the meals, and we use state-of-the-art computer vision to recognize the ingredients, the respective proportions, and predict macronutrients, glycemic index for diabetic people, or simply just counting calories. And on top of that, and this is the crypto part, we give people tokens every time they log a meal, and every meal also becomes an NFT, right? So we're creating this NFT graph of meals, restaurants, and nutrition that not only helps us represent this data on chain, but also helps the creators of those NFTs boost the rewards additionally. Because if somebody else logs meals with those same NFTs, then they're going to see a boost in the rewards. So that way we're creating variety and also at the same time giving our users the true ownership of the network.
Thanks. Can everyone hear me, or does my mic not work? Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, great. My name is Johnna Powell. Super excited to be here. Thanks for joining us. I co-lead the NFT business unit at ConsenSys. Is anyone familiar with ConsenSys? I think some people are. So chances are you're working on Ethereum or anything really in the EVM compatible chain ecosystem. You've probably worked with a ConsenSys product. We're home to MetaMask, we're home to Infura, the gateway to Mainnet, and MetaMask, of course, is the gateway to most Web3 applications. My role at ConsenSys is I co-lead the NFT business unit along with Tyler Mulvey-Hill. We have so much fun in NFTs on a day-to-day basis. We've got a team who's super, super excited about what we do. So what are we working on now? We've got a white label platform that kind of helps you, enterprises and developers, in a soup to nuts way. From thinking about what your overall NFT design should be, the overall creation of it, the creation of collections, the creation of organizations, all the way through to minting, listing, and finally guiding you through to secondary sales. That's our white label platform. We're working on a number of partnerships. Some I am not at liberty to speak about now, but really exciting ones. And also, we just launched the Merge Regenesis NFT. I don't know if anyone claimed one, but that we were really excited about because selfishly, we were kind of trying to test our platform for performance capabilities. And we actually, over a 72-hour period, got 330,000 NFTs minted with over 140,000 unique users. So we're really excited about what we can do with the community there. So that's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. So we have three experts here that are digging into different areas, and I think the theme here of today is that NFTs really will provide value across a number of different industries, use cases, and even move upstream into traditional industry sectors. So first question for this panel. We all know NFTs have huge potential to provide value beyond speculative assets. How can NFTs be used to drive value within communities, fan bases, and users of applications specifically?
I can take a first shot at that. So the way Braintrust will be using NFTs is a few things. So one, like I mentioned, we're going to move a lot of the verified work history. Like if you go to Braintrust and become a certified Python developer, meaning the community pass all the tests, and it's like a credential essentially, that'll live in your NFT. You'll be able to use it at different job boards with different employers, different contractors, not just Braintrust, and it's proven, right? You can't fake it. It's all open source software that led to it. And then we're also going to put a wallet essentially in the NFT. Like you can put Braintrust tokens inside the 721, and we'll start token gating certain premium features on the marketplace. So, let's say we've got a forum or something that you want to join to upskill or advance your career, and it requires 100 Braintrust tokens. You can load those tokens into the NFT, use it as your username, password, and then if you ever just are done with the community, you just get rid of the tokens. You can sell them or do whatever else you want with them. So we think of like token gating features with an NFT it could almost be like the new SaaS, right? The new subscription model, where instead of having to like keep paying for something on a credit card, you can go, and we don't want our users to buy tokens. We want them to go earn them, right? It's actually more valuable for Braintrust if you refer some of your friends that are engineers or designers, and they start working on Braintrust. And then you get tokens for that. That's way more valuable than just buying them retail. So I think there's this whole new paradigm of like identity and token gating features that NFTs can power.
Very cool.
Yeah, I mean, my perspective is that it's very similar to what Chris Dixon said about crypto's superpower is the ability to bootstrap networks, something that has been historically very hard to solve in Web 2, right? This age-old problem of the chicken and egg problem. And the idea is that you can incentivize early users with token rewards kind of to offset the less utility of that protocol before it actually gets network effects, right? And network effect can kick in, and you can actually simply have users that are using your product out of pure like organic utility, right? So for that reason, maybe I'm a bit contrarian on NFTs. Like this idea of being speculative is more of a feature than a bug, in the sense that it's a really good way of actually sparking interest and really giving people upside into the economy you're creating or the protocol that you're building. A great example of that is Steppen, right? Where there was a massive boost of adoption of mainstream users. But like Steppen, I think as an industry, like where we have largely failed is to create NFTs and utility that's able to weather very bad economic conditions, right? As we're currently experiencing right now, right? And that's where I think is going to be a new wave of applications that are going to be using NFTs with true utility. And to me, that means that the NFTs themselves have intrinsic value independent of the applications that are using those NFTs, right? And a great example of that is So Rare, where they are tokenizing player cards. And if you tokenize Messi, of course, there's a ton of fans, there's millions of fans, or hundreds of millions of fans of Messi. That card has value in itself. And on top of that, you're laying an application on top of it, a fantasy football game that is able to create like a flywheel between like those NFTs as like kind of IP building blocks and the applications that are using them. And that, I believe that's going to be able to create like intrinsic value for those NFTs in the long run. And like I mean, to a smaller extent, we're building something similar where by creating NFTs and creating data or tokenizing data about the meals people are eating or the nutrition, we hope to be able to enable not only applications like the one we're building, but also maybe loyalty card applications or marketing applications built on top of those IP assets.
Awesome. All amazing ideas. And I think, so you were talking about loyalty. I think that's a huge one. You were talking about token gating. I think membership is kind of almost at like the base level right now, membership and speculation, but membership is huge, right? I mean, you have Discord communities, and of course these communities can evolve significantly, but that's sort of the first thing that I think really piqued people's interest and made them understand the true value of NFTs. But thinking about the utility more broadly, royalties are huge. That's one thing that our team, Euler Beats, spearheaded about a little more than a year ago, where you can just split the royalties and kind of cut out the middleman and give the value directly to the creator. So that's one. Gaming, I think, is huge, and right now we're kind of at a lull where gamers don't necessarily appreciate the value that an NFT can give them, but yet what they don't maybe realize is that they're buying NFTs just in a walled garden on a day-to-day basis, right? So once it actually clicks, it'll probably really click strongly. So I think, gaming, I think token-gated access, membership, credentials, having your NFTs, connected to identity, I think are all, really, really interesting ways that you can attach utility to NFTs.
Do you mind if I ask you a follow-up question on that? And I love NFTs, I love blockchain. I know nothing about games. The entire gaming use case for this makes so much sense, but then you see like Roblox and Minecraft are like, F you, not playing, right? And it's obvious why they would do that, but like, what breaks that open, do you think?
What breaks that open? They have to, I think, at some point realize that they can't avoid it, right? And it's going to have to come from the gamers themselves. When the gamers see that they're getting screwed, right? That they're stuck in a walled garden and they don't actually want to be stuck in a walled garden anymore. So it's similar to what we see with Facebook, what we're starting to see with Facebook, where people are like, wait a second, that's my data. Why is it that you're profiting off of me? And I think it's going to happen with gaming as well. And Minecraft is just not going to have a choice. They probably are, it's fine, they're controlling it for the next maybe 3, 4, 5 years, but I was disappointed with Minecraft's decision. I mean, I'm a holder of NFT worlds, and that wasn't great for me.
It's so unlike Microsoft to be anti-competitive, though, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. We do have a lot of very good friends at Microsoft, but I know they.
Well, I don't.
They do have that feeling. Hopefully, I mean, we'll see what happens. But hey, look at J.P. Morgan, right? Bitcoin was poison, and now all of a sudden. They're doing so much in blockchain, so I think it just takes time.
No, I think the users, the gamers will drag them there. It makes sense.
Okay, awesome. So next question, we're going to talk a little bit about real-world use cases. So talked a lot hypothetically. We've talked about some good use cases here, but what are things we're already seeing in the market? And kind of to kick this off, I get to see a lot of what happens in gaming. So SKALE, about half of the transactions and users on SKALE all come from the gaming world. Gaming is really interesting because in each internet generation, gaming is pushing the envelope for other sectors. And I remember in 2010, there was the gamification of the enterprise and gamification of Web 2 products. And I mean, all of a sudden, Salesforce.com had badges and awards and medals. And you look at Web 2 products. Anyone use Strava, right? There's it's a fitness application. You can track your runs, and they're giving away these badges and having leaderboards. And so gaming drives use cases, and actually gamification goes beyond just gaming. It goes into all applications. So gaming really is adopting NFTs amongst the gaming-friendly, blockchain game-friendly piece. There's the non-friendly blockchain piece we just talked about, and they're going to be slow adopters, but they're sitting on piles of cash. They don't want their revenue to go away. They're scared of this. This happens with internet disruption all the time. But let's talk about real-world use cases. Are you seeing any novel, cool things? Obviously, things you're both working on. Anything else you're seeing? But let's go reverse order, or if you're ready.
Sure,
I know you see
sure.
a lot of stuff, Johnna.
I mean, I was just thinking of one, and you mentioned SoRare, right? And that's kind of the intersection of gaming and NFTs, and it's not necessarily pure hardcore gaming, but at least it's the entryway into gaming. And so if we could get to find what is the Venn diagram between those who collect SoRare cards to play fantasy games and those who are actual gamers, then we can start to kind of infiltrate that area. And I think that's a mainstream use case. They're actually doing very well if you look at the data compared to Dapper Labs, compared to Candy. You'll see, it's all been this bubble that's burst, and hopefully, we all believe that's going to be a microcycle that continues to go up. But right now, it's really, really down. But actually, if you look at SoRare data, it's not. Why? Because they have a really engaging game. It's something that kind of grabs people's passion and attention, and it's not just about the NFTs. It's about the engagement in the sport and in the fans. So if we can come up with games that are more like that engage people in their sense of competition, but it starts more organically as an NFT game, then it can start to create the ripple effects. So I think that's a really interesting mainstream case that is gaming.
Yeah, I mean, also in the gaming space, I was actually pretty excited when Loot came about. I thought that was the first time that you would see a true crypto organic way of actually building a game in a purely decentralized way. But unfortunately, that didn't pan out as well, right? I mean, the idea of tokenizing the game IP and enabling an ecosystem of creators to build on top of them is a great one. But I think where they fail is not marrying that with a game, right? An actual quest or something for people to do that to fully adopt the underlying NFTs, and that's where I think SoRare has done something remarkable by marrying the two, both the IP, and in general I think TCG games I think are going to be huge in this area, where you marry things that people really care about already with a game, to be able to create a flywheel of adoption.
I can think of one use case that's very different from those. It's a fun little experiment. We're actually going to build it on SKALE. I have a modest dirt farm in Northern California where we grow grapes, and those grapes can be made into wine. And so we're going to attempt to make some wine, and on the back of every label will be a QR code that when you scan it will mint an NFT, which will be your ticket, your sort of membership card to this wine club. And we're going to start building, and we're not making very much wine, so it'll be by default exclusive. And we're trying to develop an experience where you sort of join this community by taking possession of this NFT, and it'll be hopefully decent wine, and you can talk to other people around the world who have it. And like, I don't know if we're going to subject people to joining Discord. That might be like a good way to just fracture the user experience, but we're going to figure it out. But we hope to be like one of the first wine labels where every bottle has an NFT.
Yeah, and there's so many industries where there's potential for NFTs to make an impact, and consumer packaged goods is one of those. And I want to give a shout out, 2 examples, one in consumer packaged goods and one not, so of Scale partners. So Ivy has Ivy.cash. They have a scanning application that you can scan a QR code and it literally mints an NFT on the spot, not lazy minting, and it creates a wallet within the user's biometric protection within their iPhone or Android device. And all of a sudden you have a non-technical user that has an NFT. And then you can issue things like, let's say you're Tito's Vodka or Grey Goose or Johnny Walker, and you can have a golden ticket, and there might be 10 of these out there, and you might win that one, or maybe you don't, but you have this like special collector set, or it gives you a discount on some other thing, or early access to another thing, and so that whole category has been really, the UX has been fractured, not just by trying to get people who don't know what Discord is to join a Discord chat, but also getting these people, to enable them to custody an NFT without having a native currency. And one of our goals at Scale is to let someone who doesn't have a native currency, doesn't have money for a gas fee in a crypto native way, access and start using a Web3 product. And that's why the gas fees are subsidized on the back end by chain renters, and end users can use products just like they do in Web2. So the other one is Elsewhere. They're bringing together a whole, I would say, an experience for communities that lives on top of Discord or other areas that enables a really fun, gamified way of communication, and in a visually stimulating way. You have to check it out. But the way they will use NFTs also enables another level of gating and community engagement and fun stuff to come there from another partner on Scale. So
what are they called?
Elsewhere. Okay. All right. Next question. All right, let's talk about established industries. And maybe Francisco, I want to tee you up for this one first. And I'm talking about the old stodgy industries that are hard to change, like healthcare and finance and these massive insurance, right? Will NFTs be leveraged in these industries, number one? And number two, they don't have to be called NFTs, but on the back end, they could still be NFTs. I know you're thinking about this right now, Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert in finance, for instance, but my general statement is I don't think that traditional enterprises are going to be adopting NFTs soon, or at least we shouldn't hold our breath that they're going to be driving adoption of NFTs or crypto in general. But like in healthcare, for instance, I'm very bullish on new health apps that are B2C, that are not necessarily like built by insurance companies. That are going to incorporate some crypto components to achieve certain health outcomes, right? And from first principles perspective, if an app, by incorporating this technology, is able to drive better outcomes, right? It helps people like lose more weight or stay healthier. That app has to win, right, in the marketplace. An awesome example I saw the other day is so Sweatcoin has partnered with the NHS in the UK to build a pilot to help people exercise more and potentially prevent diabetes. Now, diabetes is a massive problem around the world. 1 in 3 people in the United States, for instance, have prediabetes. So we spent around $300 billion a year on treating diabetes. And of course, preventing that is tremendously profitable, right, for a healthcare organization. And Sweatcoin was able to show pretty promising results, right? Whereas like existing diabetes prevention programs achieve like 20% adoption and engagement or adherence, they managed with rewards to get people into 80 to 90%, right? Which manifests in better outcomes in terms of blood glucose level, body weight, and so on. So that's really like a trend that also we are trying to tap into, is that if we're able to use this technology and achieve better outcomes for our users, we have a credible shot at providing something that even an insurance payer in the future will pay for.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because I'm very intrigued, right? So I mean, initially I'm thinking about healthcare and I'm thinking, oh my God, like that's such a slow industry, and there's so much you could do, right? But then you have HIPAA and you have all these privacy regulations and so on, and even ConsenSys did try to do a lot in healthcare, but it was just so difficult early on. But you were talking about something that's far more broad, and far more mainstream reaching. Which I just find fascinating, and I think it could resonate to a ton of people. The only maybe challenge I have for you would be like why NFTs, why not? Like, because there's a lot of health apps, right? So is it something that you would see it would need to be like interoperable and you could just go across chains ultimately, and you're thinking about the future of something like this? Is that how you're thinking about it?
Yeah, I mean, that's correct. I mean, we are using NFTs to improve the user experience of our product today, right? So it's a net addition and gives people more ownership, more incentives to use our product, which we hope is going to translate into better nutrition, right? Which is a big driver or big leverage item like in people's health, right? So at the end of the day, like if we're able to demonstrate better outcomes, and this is not going to be a home run from the beginning, but we believe, and especially thanks to the conversation we are having with payers, that a solution like that can definitely make a dent in the market. Yeah.
Can I take the contrarian view here?
Yes.
I also come from healthcare. I started a company in 2012 called Doctor on Demand, which is now the largest video telemedicine service in the country. And the government mandated as part of the ACA that medical records become electronic and portable. And the health insurance companies and hospitals said, fuck off, we're not doing it. And it still doesn't work. So having a slightly different back-end technology isn't going to unwind the deeply, deeply corrupt American healthcare system, in my opinion. If anyone's going to figure it out, it's you. But the incentives are so screwed up with healthcare. Like the operating system of hospitals is Epic. It's a huge software company no one's ever heard of. They're like the Microsoft of healthcare companies. They make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year from each hospital to customize the solution, to not share records, and it's just like this massive corrupt empire that overbills insurance companies. So I wish NFTs could fix that, but it's going to be, you have to take small bites.
And I spent a lot of time as well working in AI machine learning and working with the largest biotechs and life science companies, and had a chance to also integrate with healthcare a bit during that time. And my feeling is as long as it's on the other side of their systems and the wall, and they're like, okay, you're just another vendor, great. You may on the other side be interacting and motivating their users with NFTs and cryptocurrencies, but as long as they don't need to have their own MetaMask wallets and Ledger wallets and integrate that to the EMR, and then you're fine. So as long as there's, and the thing is, hashes are public, but there are a lot of ways that you can make a hash obfuscate that public identity from a private identity through Web 2 products, right? So I think it's going to happen, but it's going to happen from the exterior.
No, 100%, and I'm fully on board with that idea, right? And that's where I see the promise of this kind of Web 2.5 apps, right? That for most of the user experience, they behave like Web 2.0 apps, especially if you're dealing with an old stodgy company and selling a solution. It has to look like a Web 2.0 app. We're not going to install MetaMask to buy NFTs. But from the user perspective and kind of the to-see part of the user experience, if these products are able to incentivize people with better behavior or actually change health outcomes, then very bullish.
I think there's a good correlation here for Braintrust as well. If you go and try to sell to a CIO a Web3 product at Nestle or Goldman Sachs or Nike, they'd probably tell you to get lost. But if you're like, hey, I can bring you the world's best talent, and on the outside, you just need to interact with these smart contracts and this decentralized network, right? So how did that work for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, totally. We look at those clients that use Braintrust. Thanks for the plug. Don't know how we're built and don't care, right? They care that we have this new business model where the talent that they desperately need own and control the network where they make their living, which makes their rates really low, right? There's no Accenture in the middle marking them up 2x. And so they're like, oh, a user-owned network, that's cool. Like, how's that work? Well, we have this token and we're on Ethereum, and they're like, no more. I don't want to hear it. It's just, it fucking works. It's like, do you care what app, if it's running Azure or AWS or whatever, right? It should run the best tech, right? Scale.
Implementation detail.
Yeah, I mean, it just needs to work and it needs to scale up. So, yeah, that's what we learned.
Awesome. Okay, well, why is it today that not everyone's using NFTs and crypto products yet, right? Like you go to DappRadar, there's not many users. We know that will change, but any thoughts on like where the friction's been and how we're going to get past this friction?
I think it's so multifactorial. There's friction everywhere. Has anyone ever tried to teach their parents how to use a MetaMask wallet? I mean, and we're the creators of MetaMask. I'm proud of MetaMask, but it was hard even for me when I was, just learning how to use a MetaMask wallet. And I have a degree in electrical engineering, so I can imagine someone who's not, very familiar with tech could be very intimidated by that. And that's just one thing. Then you have to fund your wallet. And then, oh, by the way, you need to get from Ethereum mainnet to, SKALE or to Arbitrum or to Polygon or whatever. And you have to learn how to do a bridge. And, oh, wait a second, maybe it's a scam bridge and you don't know. And there's just so much to be scared about. So, a brand new user who, doesn't have someone kind of walking their hand through it, I think would be just totally scared away. And that's what's really hard. And so we have a huge job across the industry to make every single aspect of adoption easier. And now that's not just the wallet, that's not just the bridge, that's not just overall interoperability, that's not just UI, UX, that's literally everything combined. And I think that is the next big challenge, because when you think about, the next bull run, hopefully, at least from our perspective, we think it's going to come from mainstream. And this, by the way, this very first sign of, NFT excitement, I think is, kind of a case for that people are actually getting it and it's clicking to them. It's clicking to artists. It's clicking to people who are mainstream and not super tech savvy that this could be, the next wave, but it's really our job to make it a lot easier for them.
I mean, do you think when whoever wrote the ERC 721 spec thought that 3 or 4 years later, Saturday Night Live and Pete Davidson would make a skit about it? I mean, you can't make this shit up. I'll take, look, I'm a product person by trade and a UX person, and like I've been in this space full time since 2015, 2016, and like we've all been ragging on the UX over and over and over, and I think it's so unfair to firms like ConsenSys, which actually move the ball forward, and like MetaMask, while not perfect, is like one of the best things we have out there. I would just take, in 2022, I would actually take the opposite argument now. Like, I think the UX is fine. It's not great. We have more progress to make. I just don't think there's enough value on the other side of it. Like, we underestimate how creative and crafty and clever consumers are, right? Like, people will go out of their way to like, get a free sandwich or something, right? Like, there's, those are bad UXs too, right? Sandwich cards. But like, so imagine, I think the tipping point would be like, what if you have to have an NFT to get your next Rolex? Or what if, luxury goods are easy to pick on, but like, what if like Kanye releases a shoe and you got to have the NFT before you walk into the store to buy it? Like, it'll take an influencer or a brand to force the consumer behavior change, and then all of a sudden some SaaS platform shows up that probably already exists, that you guys built probably, that was like, hey, 99 other brands, here's how you do it, right? But like, we haven't jumped the shark there yet.
It's true. You have to make people motivated to actually go through the learning process to actually get what's valuable to them. And I think that is what this like NFT craze did for a lot of people. But now that it's kind of popped and we're waiting for it to come back, however it's going to come back, we need to think about what the next real value proposition is going to be. Like, hey, if we could get a grant of $100 billion and give everyone a free Rolex if they just download a MetaMask wallet, that would be a great way to get them.
And that's
to
not
learn how to use
artwork,
one.
right? Like, it's the artwork thing. I get it, but art is always still art, right? It's just like, kind of not really valuable unless someone else, like the apes and punks and whatever, right? It's just art. Like, if we talk about real things with real value, I think that's like the next level of this.
Yeah, my perspective here, and this is where we live with SKALE, is because we're focusing on high volume transactions, lots of users, and our goal is to enable a user brand new to blockchain to start using an application in less than 2 minutes, okay? And part of that is not making them have a native currency. They can just start using something. The other piece of that is there's so much advancement taking place on the wallet side, and wallets, like security and UX or ease of use, are diametrically opposed, okay? The easier something is to use, the harder the security is going to be. Or you could have a 10,000 pound safe down on Wall Street where you keep your keys, but you're not going to be able to go and pull that out very often, right? And it's very secure, the UX is bad. And I like to call it's like the food truck ratio. And I say that because at every single Ethereum hackathon, I think I've been to 16 of them, they always have these food trucks, okay? And if you're there, some sponsor is sponsoring these free, you can use these tokens to basically get free food at the trucks. But then you have to go get this native currency and find this faucet and download this wallet. And what happens is 9 out of 10 people who are blockchain engineers don't do it. They're like, I'll just pay for the burrito, And so that's it. And if we can't get blockchain engineers to do this, now this is changing. There's also fiat on-ramps and off-ramps. Maybe, you used to have to go to Coinbase, buy something, send it to your MetaMask. Okay, once you've sent it there, then you plug in over here, and now you can take your credit card, boom, ramp in, take your USD, turn it into whatever currency you want, start leveraging the game, the platform, et cetera, really quickly. All right.
Yeah, just very quickly, it's going to sound like I'm hedging, but I think it's a combination between the two. It's both the value is not there and also the entry points to user experience. It's just brutally hard, for a normie user, right, today, right? It's just insecure, as you were saying, bridging tokens is difficult, buying tokens and fiat on-ramps are not there yet, and the security is a massive problem. How do you actually manage your private keys without, being hacked and so on? It's a massive problem, and why I'm super bullish on these 2.5 type apps that kind of combine the best of both worlds and use some of the crypto technology behind the scenes and give people at the end of the day the option to become self-sovereign if they decide to. So.
Yeah, and Adam, I think you're right too. It exists today. We just don't even know about all. And ConsenSys has all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we'll be rolling out to mainstream. You're working with these huge brands and huge artists, and those things get productized, and so we're very close. So, which is a good segue into the last question. We're gonna get a prediction here from each panelist. Where will we be in 2 years? Okay, 2 years from now, and we're gonna go back. We're gonna tweet about this and just but where will we be in terms of mainstream adoption in real-world use cases where NFTs are utilized?
I'd be happy to go first. I mean, the way I think about it is this is like Web 2's Facebook moment, right? And maybe it's not right now, maybe it's 6 months from now, maybe it's a year from now, but it's the same kind of disruption that Web 1 had with Facebook. And we're gonna see the same thing where people start to identify themselves based on what they have in their wallets, and it might be the monetary value, it might be their collectibles, it might be memorabilia from an event that they went to, but I truly believe that a lot of this is going to be represented by an NFT. Imagine you're a sports fan and you have this passport, and it's a digital passport, and that's a wallet, but you actually keep that passport and you house all of your stuff, that shows how you fan, and that could be your collectible, your Messi collectible, or whatever. That could be your So Rare cards, that could be your metaverse tickets, that could be, you could have passport stamps from metaverse events, and that's the way you express yourself. And guess what? That's so much better than a Facebook profile because you own everything. And not only do you own everything, you can pass it on to your kids, or you can transfer it or whatever, and there's actual intrinsic value that you can pass on and sell. So that 2 years isn't that far away. I mean, so I would imagine if we're somewhere there in 2 years, I would say that that's a pretty big success.
I would fork that, but for your professional life. Everything you just said, but for work. Like, I'm verified on these skills. I did these jobs for Goldman Sachs. I got this educational credential. I went to these conferences, you know, like, and you own it. It's your LinkedIn doesn't own it, and they don't sell subscriptions to people to spam you.
Yep. I think it's going to sound like also like I'm hedging again, but I would say that it's very likely that we're going to see a major crypto game to make it in the next 2 years, and a game that hopefully is better because of NFTs. And again, like it probably sounds like I'm sponsored by SoRare, but I think like a game like that kind of borrows those kind of that interaction between the IP and the actual game dynamics. I think has very promising opportunity to become the app to bring mainstream user, right? Including other things like Sweatcoin. Maybe Steppen is going to figure out the tokenomics, and maybe us as well.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and like my way of looking at the equation is where is the knee of the curve, right? Because it takes lots of work and slow growth, and then you hit this knee of the curve. And I worked in mobile in the late 2000s, and no one used mobile applications at all. And if you would have told anyone in 2008, if you had to predict, like when you fly to a new city, you're going to land there, you're going to book a ride where someone, a teacher who's taking the day off is going to give you a ride to work in their car, or not to work, give you a ride to someone's house who's renting it to you while they're gone for the summer. And the reality is, like, Uber and Airbnb weren't the first successful versions of those products, okay? And the network speeds, the device memory, the bandwidth, these things just, you couldn't have done that in 2008. But we hit this point, all of a sudden it took off incredibly fast. So I think we're like approaching one of those. 1 year, 2 year, 3 years? I don't know, but we're close. Okay, thank you everybody. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, panelists. We'll be around after if anyone has questions.